But anyways, today what we're talking about is when to fight for a candidate. So kind of in the theme of today, right? People fight for their candidate. Uh, so now we're talking about a recruiting candidate. We're not going to talk about a political candidate today. So how to fight for your candidate, in terms of if you're agency or if you're a corporate recruiter, right? You're dealing with hiring managers. You got to vet the role. What we've talked about, that qualifying the role, qualifying the urgency, right? Making sure that you really understand the job description. Is it accurate? Push back when you need to. But we're going to talk about, three things of making sure you actually get the right candidate. And I think pushback where needed. I think sometimes recruiters push on candidates that maybe really aren't qualified or really don't have the skills for the role. Maybe aren't quote unquote the perfect match. So you really want to be paying attention and following. You want to hear out the managers. You want to listen to them, but follow where their actions are as well. So that'll kind of show you where to push back or where not to push back. I would say sometimes be wary of the wide scope. We had a recent example where a manager wanted someone in the industry for a sales role with that background, but then he was interviewing people outside the industry. And I told one of my recruiters, I was like, I still think he's going to go with someone in the industry if you find that candidate. I think sometimes be wary of the wide scope of going too far out, and then the actual hire is going to be someone that was within the industry all along, or kind of within that that narrow scope. So especially for agency recruiters, if you're trying to capture that fee, but if you do have that person that you should fight for, you want to sneak them in, be persistent, showcase the why, if they meet the real needs, and, make the case, stump for them a little bit, right? And kind of push that, but really make the why. And not just because they were the one person that responded to you, but that shows that you really listened to the manager and really push back. So again, this was the difference for us this past weekend of a $30,000 fee that started the next day. This person was last in the interview process. The recruiter fought for him to get in, and he rose immediately to the top as soon as the team met with him, and he got hired and started the next day. So again, fighting for your candidates, kind of knowing when to push, knowing when not to push. It starts with qualifying that role. Follow the manager's actions, not always just their words. That'll kind of lead you in the right direction. So that's, I think, maybe 101 seconds.
Wow. Yeah, that was great. Great. Real tie-in with politics, and you did a great job with that, Clark.
We're doing all right. A little goat talk with Michael Jordan. Hope you guys can tolerate that.
I think when it comes to fighting for the candidates, a lot of this has to do with, number one, how much knowledge do you have about the business you're serving, and then how much, not authority do you have, but how much say or how much respect do you have from the hiring manager, particularly agency. If you don't have that respect from the hiring manager, and they don't actually believe that you know who a good candidate is, it's really, really hard to fight for candidates, right?
You have to earn that, right? And you have to show it with results.
How do you earn that respect?
Over time.
Yeah, I think with, Adam said, it's results, and it's also it's also not bringing it's not just bringing 3 resumes to a hiring manager that are off right away that you just found on Indeed, and looking, because I think that's what happens a lot. That's at least from what I hear from a lot of my clients who worked with agency before. All they did was send 20 resumes that they found on Indeed that just not even a fit. So I think it starts with the intake call, listening to what they have to say, adding suggestions, coming with data, coming with creative ways to find people, and then when you're actually submitting people, being able to tell a really good story. So if there is somebody that maybe they dismiss, you got to have a good story. Is everything. Story is huge.
But you can only come up with this story if you're really qualified and try to understand what they're looking for, why that role is going to have an impact on the organization. I think setting up the expectation of having a calibration period gives recruiters kind of that needed a few days or a week to just kind of, hey, we're going to try to get this on the tracks and just make sure that we're in the right direction early on. I think more recruiters that do that, you're buying a little bit more goodwill in the beginning to just make sure you calibrate and not just fling resumes, because you might not get it right when the first 2 are candidates, but you can kind of start to build and understand how to tell that story. So when it comes down to the candidate, the manager's going to be more apt. You've kind of warmed them up to be okay, this recruiter's listening and they're working to try to figure this out with me.
Yeah, the calibration call is absolutely critical, and I set up all new clients and existing clients too. When we have a new role, I say, listen, let's just make sure we're on the right path here. The first few candidates, the profiles I'm going to send, tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly. That'll help me close the aperture in the search moving forward. Gives them an opportunity to also say, hey, we liked a little bit about candidate A, but candidate B has something. Find somewhere in between that, right? And it gives you more data points to focus on as a recruiter. What else is going on, Clark? What else is cooking?
Not much. I mean, I think there's something going on today with voting or whatnot, so that's kind of fun. And I'm sure it'll be a non-emotional and very calm week. So it's been good. We got a big workshop later today with an agency, getting them set up
Great.
on some LinkedIn stuff. So just plugging away and doing what we do over here.
Keeping it rolling.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
we're gonna keep it rolling here. I want to check out Clark on LinkedIn. Check out Digital Recruiter.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic program, and it works. It works, everybody. Thanks,
Thanks, man.
Clark.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.
Cool.
Thanks,
Later.
Clark.